So here we are with Alicia Zoeller, who is the administrator of the Office for Community Development of the City of Holyoke. And we're going to be talking about the new fiscal year 2023 Community Development Block Grant Proposal applications. Alicia, thank you so much for being with us today. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to get out into the community in an alternative format. So thanks.
So this past January 20th, the application became available, and now the funds for fiscal year 2023 for CDBG funds are available. And this includes also ARPA funds as well, right?
It does. So we have issued a schedule for grant applications that includes separate schedules for CDBG, which are Community Development Block Grant Funds, for ARPA funds, and for our Home Investment Partnership Funds. So we have put out one calendar, but there are 3 different time periods for agencies, nonprofits to apply for either CDBG funds or ARPA funds or home funds. The first applications that are due for CDBG funds, Community Development Block Grant. That is for funding that will start on July 1st, 2023. For the CDBG program, we're soliciting proposals for public services. So those agencies that offer access to food, daycare, job training, mental health, physical health, those types of programs, as well as proposals for housing development. With CDBG, it would be for rehab or home ownership opportunities. We're also soliciting for CDBG applications in the public facilities, which are things like perhaps a community center, and then our infrastructure projects that would be handled by the municipality. So things like new parks, sewer lines, water lines, that kind of thing.
When we talk about the different type of projects and proposals that can be submitted, I wonder if current and existing projects can reapply to continue getting funding, or this only applies to new proposals?
So we can refund existing proposals. And because the City of Holyoke has so few providers, we have a lot of different kinds of nonprofits, but the pool of providers, it's not like we have new agencies coming in. So we will see repeat applicants, whether that's the Boys and Girls Club or Girls Inc. or the Y. Those are our hardcore stakeholders, project partners, and so we would be looking to them to apply as well. So each sector of categories has particular nonprofits that we see and work with year after year. We do encourage them. These are federal funds. There's no guarantee. It always depends on what Congress decides to allocate to communities. And so we really encourage our nonprofit partners to not use CDBG funds for their annual budgets to subsist, but to really use it to supplement, because we just don't know from year to year how much money we're going to get.
Also, did you mention this is for different nonprofits particularly? So this means, and just to clarify, that this not qualifies individuals to submit proposals.
Correct. That's a really good point. The applications that are on the streets now are for agencies or nonprofits or our stakeholder partners to apply for funds. If there's a family or a household or an individual in the city that has a particular need, we encourage you to reach out to the office directly, because we would direct you to one of our partners that we've funded to provide that service. For instance, if someone needs a meal share or a food box, we have a list of providers here in the city, some of them that we fund, some of them that we don't, that we can direct individuals to. So yes, these applications are not for individuals, but we do like to highlight that the process is happening, because ultimately the low and moderate income residents of the City of Holyoke are the ones that are going to benefit. And we want to make sure that we're connecting our residents to the services that are funded by the city.
And because the deadlines for submitting these proposals are approaching,
Yep.
It's commonly known in the nonprofit environment that deadlines are really short, and this needs to happen quickly. And being that the reason for having this conversation today, when is the closest deadline that people need to be aware of in order to submit their proposals and on time?
So the proposal deadline for the Community Development Block Grant is going to be on Friday, February 17th, 2023 at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We recognize that nonprofits are struggling with staffing capacity. There's been a lot of staff turnover since the start of pandemic. Hiring has been difficult. We see it on the municipal side as well. So in order to make sure that as many agencies have an opportunity to apply and that the process is as easy for them as possible, we've established a Google link with a very straightforward Google form that we're asking agencies to fill out and submit through the Google platform. And then once they do that, there's also a list of required attachments that they'll need to either mail to us or bring in hand delivery. Those attachments also need to be submitted by February 17th at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But if they're an agency who's established and been working, this is sort of automatic for them. They know that in order to apply for any kind of grant funds, whether it's federal or state, these are the attachments that are required. And the application really is as straightforward as possible for them.
And regarding the proposals for ARPA funds, is there another different date for deadline, right?
So there is. So I want to highlight a few things with ARPA. I know that there's been a lot of interest. So ARPA stands for the American Rescue Plan Act funds. It's money that was allocated by Congress. This specific pool of funds is what we know as the state and local federal recovery pool. It's an allocation of federal dollars that were made to the city to help us recover from the pandemic. Over the last few months, it came to us from the U.S. Treasury. Typically, the money that comes to our office comes from the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development, where the ARPA funds are coming from the Treasury Department. So it's a little bit different. There was no application. They just said, here's some federal funds for you to use to recover from COVID. So the ARPA funds, the first date that I want to highlight that really is for the community is on Monday, February 13th at 5:30 p.m. We'll be having a very, very large community meeting where the mayor and our consultant that we've hired to help us with ARPA funds and analyze those community needs, we're going to be hosting a community meeting. So we really encourage folks to come out and hear about all of the work that we've been doing to figure out how to use these ARPA funds and to figure out how to meet the community needs. We're going to have a presentation on a business survey that we've done, a community survey that we've done. We had an overwhelming response with our community survey. We heard from all corners of the community about what folks think the needs are, particularly around housing and job rebounds and employment, that sort of thing. So we're going to hear about our community survey, our business survey, and then the very hot topic I know here in the city is we did request statement of interest, where we asked globally for statements of interest on what are the unmet community needs. What do you as a stakeholder, a business owner, a nonprofit, what do you think we still need to recover from COVID? And we had an overwhelming response for those statements of interest. We had almost $50 million of needs that were identified. And so the community meeting on February 13th at 5:30 at the Council on Aging is going to be an opportunity for the mayor and for the city to present all of this data and then say to the community, okay, community, here's all the work that we've done. What do you all think of this? What direction should we go? The ARPA funds, we've allocated half of the ARPA funds. We still have another half to go. Mayor Garcia's goal is to have all of those funds allocated and under contract for July 1st, so that for the next 3 years, we can focus on spending those ARPA dollars to make the improvements in the community and to overcome COVID. So I'll stop and take a deep breath there because I know that was a lot of information. The second part, so that's the community part, is February 13th. The second part of that is on March 1st. This office will be releasing the new ARPA proposal or applications along with the guidelines. So we are going to take the next 6 weeks or so and take a look at the U.S. Treasury guidance around what kinds of activities are going to be allowed for this next allocation of ARPA funds. And then we're going to tailor the applications and the guidelines to what are the eligible activities and what activities has the community indicated that we really need to continue the COVID recovery. So I expect that the U.S. Treasury might have 100 different kinds of uses on it, but the City of Holyoke is going to say, okay, we've looked at all the U.S. Treasury uses, but here's where we really need to focus. And those will be the applications that we solicit. Again, those applications are not from individuals or from households. They are from stakeholders. So it may be businesses or nonprofits, other sorts of entities. And those applications will be released on March 1st, and they're going to be due back on April 14th at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll also use a Google form for that, and then there'll be a separate set of attachments. The reason for the two splits in deadlines between CDBG and ARPA is CDBG, we're under a very tight timeline because of the requirements of HUD, our funding source for that, where with ARPA, we don't have quite as many obligations to meet to use that money. So we really just need to put out applications, solicit applications, and then make those allocations.
You mentioned that in order to simplify and make accessible the submission of these forms, everything it will be in digital through Google Forms. Where this information can be accessed for the different nonprofits and organizations that wish to submit their proposals?
Great question. Great question. I should add that if we have an organization or an entity that is not able to access our information digitally, they simply need to call the office and we'll give them paper copies and work with them to get the applications completed. We certainly don't want the fact that we're doing a digital application to be a barrier. So if there's an entity that wants to apply, but they're having trouble with the platform or they just can't access it, we will absolutely work with them. In terms of where to go to get the information, we're trying to put out as much information through two sources. One is our webpage. We've been working really hard over the past 2 to 3 weeks to make sure that our webpage, www.holyoke.org, the Community Development Department, is updated with current information. So there's links. We've highlighted the CDBG information in red. It's fully linked there. You click, you've got everything that you need. And we'll be doing the same thing with ARPA. The ARPA information on the city's webpage actually has its own standalone, it looks like a standalone department, and the ARPA information will be updated there as well. And then our other sorts of information that we've been, again, trying to push out is the use of Facebook. So if you go to Facebook and if you go to @HolyokeOCD, we're providing the links to all of the information there as well. All of our public notices and announcements are posted with the city clerk's office. So if you happen to be wandering around City Hall, check out the bulletin board outside of the clerk's office on the second floor of City Hall, and our notices are published there as well. And we always encourage folks, if they have a question or a concern or they're having trouble reaching the application or filling it out, we do offer free technical assistance. We're as busy as any of our nonprofits. We get that. We have some staff limitations, but if someone's got a technical question, we're more than happy. We don't want that to be a barrier to getting an application submitted. So, and we often get the question, can new nonprofits or fledgling small scale nonprofits apply? And I absolutely say yes. If you're a new nonprofit in the area and you're providing a service to low and moderate income households here in the city of Holyoke, please call me. Let's discuss it. I'd love to give you the opportunity to apply and perhaps receive a very small grant, see how you do. We have a risk calculation that we look at, and you're small and haven't been around a while. We'll give you a small grant, see how you do. Everybody's got to start somewhere. So we encourage those sorts of applications as well.
Well, Alicia, thank you so much for all this work and making sure that all this information is out for the public to get the time and submit their proposals, because in the end, as you mentioned, this will benefit the community in the city of Holyoke that need the most of this events, activities, development, and proposals that are part of the continuous progress of the city towards a better life quality for the community.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you again for hosting the conversation today. I encourage folks to reach out. We can be reached through the Office for Community Development or by email, through Facebook. Please let us know what folks are thinking.